Girlfriend of 5 years is spending all her time with new partner. I am not the oop. Oop is you. Throw RA7313 purple. Girlfriend of 5 years is spending all her time with new partner. Originally posted to R. Non-monogamy. Previous Bo are you. Trigger warning. Physical violence. Emotional abuse. Manipulation and stalking. Less than. Mood spoiler. Frustrating but vindicating. Less than. Original post July 23, 2023. I, 28M. Met my girlfriend, Clara, 29F, about 5 years ago and we moved in almost 4 years ago. Our relationship has always been open and we were free to date whoever, and after we moved in we set a few rules. Mainly a weekly check-in and dedicated private time for the two of us. The first 3 years were great and last year we started going to sex clubs together and Clara got to finally experience her first MMMF, gangbang. And that is how she met Gary, 30+ M. They started seeing each other and it quickly became 45 nights a week. Several being sleepovers. When Clara canceled one of our nights together I protested and she said she would make it up but never did. On one of our check-ins I said I was feeling my needs were being neglected and she was spending too much time with Gary. It turned into an argument but she finally promised to be more mindful of our relationship. That lasted about 2 weeks. A few weeks ago I had a company social function we were invited to. I had RSVP and sent Clara a text reminding her. The day before the event she said couldn't make it due to a band Gary wanted to go see was in town. When she came home the day after, I blew up and said I was tired of taking care of her share of the chores around the house and being treated like a roommate. It got ugly and she ended up leaving and going to Gary's apartment. She came home early Monday morning before I left for work and said how she was sorry and we needed to work things out. I told her we needed set some new boundaries and schedules she could abide by and we could talk about it tonight. I left and got halfway to work when I got a text asking where all her work clothes were at. I replied in the dirty clothes hamper. I told her I washed all my clothes but I wasn't going to be her effing maid any longer, especially if I had been demoted to roommate. When I got home Clara was fixing dinner. I asked her if she wanted to break up and go live with Gary. That I would understand but I needed to know where we stood. She said she wanted us to stay together and not fight anymore. So I said we needed a schedule and at the very least I wanted 2 nights in a row with her and a Friday date night every week. She agreed that was fair and we made up and had a good couple of days together until she spent the night at Gary's house and the next day told me that our agreement wasn't fair because Gary didn't have a say in it. I told her if we were going to live together then we needed to have an agreement between us. That I wasn't interested in having an agreement or dating Gary. If she didn't want to keep the agreement we made then she needed to find a new roommate and she needed to take care of her cat because I was done taking care of her. Clara wants to talk but I feel Gary is calling all the shots and I just need to know where she stands. Is this even salvageable or is it time to just move on? So I know this is going to come up, but I am seeing other people so it's not like I'm just sitting home feeling sorry for myself when she is gone. But I need to know if I need to look for someone that can fulfill my needs and I can make life plans with. TLDR needing to vent and get advice on how to handle my GF of 5 years downgrading me to roommate status. Oop updated a few times in the comments. Comment the 1st of July 24. Well, that was good advice but Clara came home from Gary's and wanted to talk. She gave me a counter-proposal that I won't even waste time typing out. I asked again if we were through and all the plans we had made were just pipe dreams. She still says she loves me and wants to be with me but she has feelings for Gary as well and I should respect that. I said I think she loves having a roommate and that my needs and feelings don't matter. So I gave her another deal. If we are going to stay together, then we have to fix us without Gary's influence. I told her she had to cut contact with Gary for a week. No calls, no texts, no nothing, and then if we get back to where we were she can start to see Gary again. But only twice during the week and no sleepovers. She said there was no way that would work and it was just me being cruel. I reminded her in a few weeks we were supposed to be in a wedding in North Carolina. Our friends want both of us in the wedding party as bridesmaid and groomsmen. I told her if we didn't work things out I wasn't going, which meant that she wasn't going to be able to go either, and she could explain to our friends why we were backing out of the wedding. After already being fitted for tux and gowns, she cried foul and said I was just being mean, but I didn't budge and said the choice was hers, but it was final. She wanted to go talk to Gary about it, and I said you can call him one more time and talk about it. But if she went over there it was to stay, and when she came back it would be to get all her stuff. Because I was tired of trying and getting stepped on, she finally agreed and called Gary to tell him. I didn't listen, but I heard her raise her voice a few times. After, I asked her to block him on her phone and all her social media and told her if I found out they had any contact the deal was off and we were done. I know this sounds controlling and vindictive, but it's the only way I know to get back to where we were, and if it doesn't work we both move on. Comment the 2nd of July 25, 2023. Clara and I had a productive discussion this morning and we have agreed to couples counseling this week. She deleted her Snap and WhatsApp and showed me her phone and said she had nothing to hide and wanted to be transparent. Gary tried to call me several times this morning and finally sent a text wanting to talk with me. I answered his next call and we argued a little. I told him I thought Mew's first proposal was more than fair, and when he shot that down I felt it was time for a different course of action and told him what Clara and I had talked about. I said Clara is free to walk away from the agreement we made at any time and that it was totally up to her. I told him I thought he was out to break us up, and if it was up to me I would veto their relationship right now. He made a bunch of stupid remarks to piss me off, so I hung up and blocked him. Comment the 3rd of July 26, 2023. Clara called me today around lunchtime. Gary couldn't stand being cut off and came to her work to ask her to go to lunch and talk. She refused and he got loud and made a scene. She ended up getting security to remove him from the building. He embarrassed her at work and she is livid. She then had to answer a lot of personal questions to her boss about who he was and more questions about us. When she got home she wanted to call and talk to him. I said that was a bad idea and she said there were things she needed to tell him and said she would do it on speaker so I could hear. So I listened as she called him. She told him coming to her work and embarrassing her was unacceptable. That she needed space to work on our relationship that she had neglected, and that now she needed at least 2 weeks with no contact before they could see each other. He kept trying to talk over her, but she shut him down, told him if he couldn't respect her wishes, then maybe I was right and she would cut him off permanently. Then she hung up the phone. She got off and broke down telling me about the fallout from work. Her boss is making her pay for a window Gary broke as security was escorting him out, and gave her a verbal warning and said if it happened again she would get a letter in her file. Relevant comments. D.A. Dodsworth. Honestly hope this is the end of Gary for the both of you. Massive red flags to show up at Clara's work like this. Also WTF is with Clara's boss giving her a verbal warning over a potential abuser coming to her workplace unannounced. Oop replied. Clara is still extremely agitated about the incident, but I don't know that he is completely done just yet. Let's just say that Clara may have taken off her rose-colored glasses. It's been really hard not to pile on and say I told you so or make other disparaging comments about him. Her coworker said her boss felt like her coworkers and the potential clients that were in the lobby were put at risk and the whole thing was grossly unprofessional. They went from arguing to yelling, and when Gary got physical, Clara had to get the security guard to escort him off the premises. The subject matter and details that Gary was yelling at the top of his lungs was evidently a bit too scandalous, seeing as I had attended many company functions as her +1 and was considered her other half. Update July 29, 2023. So a quick recap. Clara, my girlfriend, started dating Gary and was spending almost all her time with him until I threatened to leave and made her block him for a week so we could work on our relationship. He couldn't stand it and showed up at Clara's work and caused a scene because she would go talk with him at lunch and had to be forcibly removed from her workplace. Friday night we had a double date with another couple. Dinner followed by one of our favorite bands at a club downtown. Dinner was great and we had a good table reserved at the club. As I'm coming back from the men's room, I see Gary, who has spotted Clara and making a beeline for her. I got to the table first and told Clara we needed to leave. Gary told Clara he needed to talk to her and I said something like in a week maybe, and then he sucker punched me. I got up off the floor and just looked at him and he hit me again. By that time the bouncers had him and were walking him to the door. By the time I got to the door, the cops had him and asked if I wanted to press charges and I said absolutely. I took a selfie to preserve the moment. He bloodied me up pretty good. Needless to say, we didn't stay for the show. Clara drove us home and on the way asked if I was really going to press charges and if maybe it would be better if we just let it go. I said no, I was assaulted and he wasn't going to get away with that. By the time we got home my face was swollen and changing colors, and when Clara saw my face she just cried. She cleaned me up and got a couple of ice packs for the swelling. She called Gary, which went to voicemail obviously. But she told him off and said he had gone too far and she never wanted to hear from him again. Then added we were filling a VPO ASAP. This morning we talked, mainly about ways to keep this from getting out of hand again. She set some new boundaries for herself and a limit on how long she could spend with a new partner. She set some pretty tight parameters that I won't hold her to because they're not realistic. We have both said some hurtful things in the last few weeks that left some deep wounds, but I think we can get past it. If we get back to where we were, I'm thinking about asking her to marry me. I know she wants it and thinks it will bind us closer together. But there is some trust that needs to be rebuilt first. Relevant comments. Throwaway 2255001. Honestly, I said it in another post. Clara asking you to not press charges would be the final nail in the coffin. If ever a partner said that to me, especially after what specifically had happened to you, that would be it. Honestly, you okay, man? Maybe you should reevaluate your relationship. Really is not cool, and I get the sense you are trying to rug sweep the severity of her actions. Oop replied, Clara asking you to not press charges would be the final nail in the coffin. If ever a partner said that to me, especially after what specifically had happened to you, that would be it. The bar was dark and she never got a good look at my face until we got home. By then it had started to swell and turn colors. I don't think she thought I got hurt that bad, and when she realized it she did a 180 and unloaded on him, even if it was a voicemail. At first, she said she thought filing charges would make things worse, and later she was all for it. #NEW update. Final update August 13th, 2023. So briefly, Clara, my girlfriend, had been spending most of her time with Gary and I had been demoted to roommate for all intents and purposes. I put my foot down and said we needed to close temporarily and refocus or just part ways. Clara had no idea I was hurting this bad and cut Gary off rather than break up with me. Gary didn't take it well and confronted her at her place of work and ended up assaulting me at a club while out with Clara. If you need more details, they are in the previous posts. I filed assault charges against Gary. After the depositions, the ADA filed a felony assault charge against him and had a judge issue a victim protective order. For me and Clara, I received a letter from Gary's lawyer with an apology and a plea for dropping the assault charge, because it would trigger action from a deferred sentence he had in another case. I spoke with the ADA and reaffirmed my resolve in the case. Last Thursday, Gary entered into a plea deal, pleaded no contest, and received a 6-month jail sentence versus the 35 years he could have received, and 3 years probation. The judge also issued a restraining order barring any contact between Gary and either of us for 5 years after he gets out of jail. Clara, she has been to her personal therapist 4 times in the last 2 weeks and is going once every other week going forward. We just had our second couples counseling Friday. I don't know all the details from her IC, but we have a structured check-in conversation every week. Now, she has had 2 panic attacks that her therapist has said were triggered by guilt and self-shaming, and she is working on that. She has closed her side of the relationship for the near future and said when she feels ready it will be only kink and couple events where we play together. After missing the numerous red flags with Gary, she has zero self-confidence in her ability to recognize the warning flags when getting into a relationship. And she had a list of boundaries if she ever decides to date solo again that even our couples therapist found a bit over the top. Here are the highlights. 3 months 6-hour date max. 12 p.m. curfew once a week max. 39 months 10-hour date max. 1 a.m. curfew, no overnights once a week and only 1 weekend day a month. On a positive note, she is eating better and trying to go 23 days to the gym before she goes to work and wants to get an exercise bike for the house. May ended up canceling a date with my other partner and due to scheduling conflicts. We won't see each other till after Labor Day, so I have plenty of time to devote to mending fences. Our couples therapist said we both had blame in our crises, mainly in our communication skills. She was particularly hard on Clara at the beginning when Clara told her side of the story. I have put most of it behind me, but I know going forward I will doubt Clara's judgment on some things. The subject of our future plans came up and marriage came up, but our therapist said not to rush or think of it as a solution to our problems. Last year, before everything blew up, my mom gave me my great-grandmother's wedding ring set. Being the first and favorite grandchild, she left her engagement, wedding ring set and my great-grandfather's wedding ring to me. And last year I was thinking about proposing and had all the rings resized in case the right moment presented itself. The jeweler that did the work gave me an appraisal and suggested I insure it, and I had it added to my homeowner policy. My insurance agent is also friends with my sister and let it slip, and my sister now wants the rings for her upcoming wedding this fall. So my sister said something to Clara, who after some snooping found the rings. My sister is mad, but my mom told her to suck it up. Clara admitted to finding the rings and trying them on and has been all doe-eyed whenever the subject gets brought up. For now, no one is getting the rings and I have moved them to another secure location. But now everybody knows what they appraised for. 43K. Relevant comments. Yako W. I would have a serious talk with your insurance agent or their boss. That is not information they should be sharing, let alone with family of the client. People have been murdered by family for less. Not that I'm saying your sister is going to call a hit on you, but that was a serious breach of privacy. Oop replied. The agent in question and I have already had words about this, but I'm not looking to jam her up over this. My sister was already aware of the ring, just not its value. They are best friends and she was just commenting on how beautiful the ring was since I had to submit photos and bring the ring in to add it to the policy. And I guess when my sister asked how much it appraised for her friend let it slip. My sister has become bridezilla with her wedding only a couple of months away and she will move on to a new drama issue soon enough. This is a repost sub IAM, not the oop. Take a lesson from the Spice Girls. And don't enter a relationship with someone who can't get along with your friends. The concept of having a non-monogamous relationship in which any of the members don't get along fantastically with all of the others. Either everyone gets along really well, or you don't make the new connection at all. We all know Op was going to ignore every red flag from Clara. Next update, we're engaged. Can somebody more familiar with the US legal system determine if that timeline makes sense? Or is it too fast? 2 weeks from crime to sentencing? New jealous sister character from out of nowhere? $43,000 ring? Damn, this is so exhausting. People with absolutely no self-love nor self-respect. Whole thing is disgusting. Is there any love in this relationship? Oop says Clara didn't see the red flags with Gary, but Oop isn't seeing the red flags Clara was waving in his face. He's actively ignoring them by sweeping her actions under the rug. Because he wants to stay with her, Clara has shown that she doesn't have his best interests at all. She put another man's needs over OOP's and shown how selfish she was. She had the gall of asking Oop not to press charges on Gary. He should have blown up at her for still prioritizing Gary and end the relationship right there. Instead of continuing it, both are not really ready to be in a relationship. Not another polyamory downfall post. Boo. Just boo. This is a very stupid post. I know a couple just like you. They're both dicks too. Please, for the love of God, do not get engaged anytime soon, or if ever for that matter. Of all the things that didn't happen, this didn't happen the most. 2 weeks-ish. From assault straight to jail? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Also, Ada? I'm sure he meant to say DA. But why would the DA be on this case anyway? Edit. I'm dumb. Ada means Assistant District Attorney. Still, there's a couple of things that just don't add up here even if you assume some kind of flub in the retelling. Oop is stronger than me. If my GF asked me not to press charges, even if there were no injuries, I would have gone ballistic. The audacity. Far be it from me to question the legitimacy of an anonymous post on the internet. But this entire story sounds like a load of fabricated bollocks. WTF is wrong with everybody in this story? You all deserve the misery and chaos you create for yourselves and others. I guess when my sister asked how much it appraised for her friend let it slip. Her friend should lose her license. There was another story just like this. This one is ripped from that. The names were different, and some of the circumstances were slightly altered. But everything else, the work freakout, the club asso, was the same. That relationship is doomed. Good for people that have open relations, I guess? But for me this whole thing was exhausting.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.